All right, friends, the swamp is being drained in real time. Trump's transition team just dropped a series of appointments that have Washington insiders running scared. Dr. Oz taking control of Medicare and Medicaid, Linda McMahon revolutionizing education, and a pro-crypto warrior heading to the SEC. But the bombshell that's really sending shockwaves, Howard Lutnick at Commerce, talking about eliminating the income tax entirely. The deep state's paper shredders are working overtime as we speak. Meanwhile, Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they're meeting at SpaceX, plotting what could be the biggest technological revolution in American history. Now, Patriots, while we're watching Donald Trump rebuild America's strength through these appointments, let's talk about rebuilding your personal strength. Like Howard Lutnick's plan to revolutionize commerce, Sculpt Nation is revolutionizing men's health. Their test boost formula is exactly what you need in these challenging times. Just as Trump's picking warriors for his cabinet, you need to be at your strongest to fight back against the system. Don't let them weaken you. Take back control of your vitality. Go to sculptnation.com/NNN and save up to 51% off your first order so you can be ready for what's coming. Okay, lots of news to get to in this segment. Now, the Doge, I'm very excited about the Doge, this new Department of Government Efficiency. And I cannot wait to see the technological wizardry of Elon Musk joined with Vivek Ramaswamy and Ron Paul and executed by Donald Trump in his executive authority, putting together a website where we can pick and choose and vote up and vote down all the insane spending that the government does. So let's listen in. This was just published. If an agency doesn't work, it must go. This is Representative Tiffany.
Commission.
According to the exit polls and even all of the polling heading up to the election, inflation, immigration, top issues. But I think a dark horse was the education issue, especially when it comes to parents who learned, unfortunately, during COVID, what their children were being taught. This is something that you have been very, very vocal about. When it comes to the Department of Education and something that's been tossed around, basically hitting Control-Alt-Delete on the Department of Education, returning it to the states, how difficult of a task is that going to be, and what does it look like?
Just like you said, in regards to COVID, the Biden administration saying, hey, we're going to allow boys to be able to go in and play girls' sports or go into girls' locker rooms. Those things really animate a lot of voters. And I think that's actually, especially for women, was a motivating force for them to say, you know what, I am going to vote for President Trump in regards to this. So we have the Department of Education, established by President Carter back in 1979. Has educational attainment gotten better in America since we allowed the federal government to put its nose under the tent? The answer is no. So if an agency does not work, then it should be eliminated. And I am really excited that I was actually surprised at one of the rallies in Wisconsin, President Trump brought this up. I was like, oh God, this is kind of interesting. He's bringing this up, but he has stayed with it and is saying, we need to eliminate this. And I'm with him. I hope we can make it happen.
Big opportunity, and he's got two heavyweights in the ring trying to help him reorganize government. Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, two billionaire entrepreneurs. They know how to get things done. They're already crowdsourcing some interesting ideas, asking the American public, give us examples. We'll tackle them and try to cut government. Special machines being bought from Starbucks at the Pentagon. I don't know what that's about. And equity lessons for teachers and students to indoctrinate them. Seems like I told.
Oh, but you know what? It actually gets better. Vivek Ramaswamy tweeted this just 2 hours ago. He brought up Milton Friedman, of all people. He said, Milton Friedman would be a Doge man if he were still with us. We will make him proud. So this is an old interview of Milton Friedman. Listen to, okay, so if this is going to tell you anything, what we can expect, this is the influence of Vivek Ramaswamy. Listen to this.
It's gone. Department 14 is a lot for television, so I want to just go right down the list quickly and have you give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Keep them or abolish them. Department of Agriculture.
Abolish.
Gone. Department of Commerce.
Abolish.
Gone. Department of Defense.
Keep.
Keep it. Department of Education.
Abolish.
Gone. Energy.
Abolish.
Housing.
Except that energy ties in with the military.
Well, then we shove it under defense.
That's
The little
right.
bit that handles the nuclear,
Right, that ought to go under
plutonium
defense.
and so forth goes under defense, but we abolish the rest of it. Health and Human Services?
There is room for some public health activities to prevent contagion, such a thing as, for example.
So you'd keep the National Institutes of Health, say, and the Center for Disease Control down
not
in
the
Atlanta?
National Institute.
Oh, no?
No, those are mostly research agencies. No. That's a question of whether the government should be involved in financing research.
And the answer is no.
Well, that's a very complicated issue, and it's not an easy answer with respect to that.
We'll eliminate half of the Department of Health and Human
something
Services?
like that.
Okay, one half. There we go. Housing and Urban Development?
Out.
Oh.
Okay, did you hear what he said?
Didn't you?
Cutting half of health and human services. That's exactly what RFK plans to do. There are already hundreds of people. I think they said 600 people are already on the chopping block at that agency. So we're seeing Milton Friedman's dream come to fruition, and Vivek Ramaswamy tweeting this video out. This is a message to America. Listen carefully. There's more.
Pause over that one. Department of the Interior.
Oh, well, but housing and urban development has done an enormous amount of harm. My God. If you think of the way in which they've destroyed parts of cities under the rubric of eliminating slums.
Jack Kemp.
You know, you remember that Martin Anderson wrote a book on the federal bulldozer describing the effect of the urban development. There have been many more dwelling units torn down in the name of public housing that have been built.
Jack Kemp has proposed selling to the current inhabitants of public housing their unit, their townhouse, their apartment for $1 a piece, and just shifting the ownership to the people who live in.
If you got rid of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, it would be worth doing that.
All right, done. That's gone. Department of the Interior, your beloved National Park Service.
Well, given the problem there is, you first have to sell off all the land that the government owns. But that's what you should do.
But it could be done pretty quickly.
It could be done. You should do that. There's no reason for the government to own. The government now owns something like 1/3 of all the land in the country.
And that's too much. Should go down to zero.
Should go down to, well, not entirely zero. They ought to own the land on which government buildings are.
Okay, terrific. Department of Justice.
Oh, yes.
Keep that one.
Keep that one.
Labor.
No.
Gone. State.
Keep.
Keep it. Transportation.
Gone.
Gone. The Treasury.
You have to keep it to collect taxes.
All right, collect taxes through the Treasury. Veterans Affairs.
You can regard the Veteran Affairs as a way of paying essentially salaries for services of those who have been in the armed force, but you ought to be able to get rid of it.
You should be able to pay it off.
Pay it off.
Pay off lump sums, perhaps.
That's right.
And just get rid of it. Okay, Milton Friedman, if you are made dictator for one day, the next day the American government...
No, I don't.
Dictator for one day. Listen to the language that's being presented here. Remember, Donald Trump said, I'll be a dictator, but only on day one. Oh my goodness, how crazy is this?
I want to be made dictator.
You wouldn't?
I don't believe in dictators.
Okay.
I believe we want to bring about change by the agreement of the citizens. I don't believe in arbitrary rule.
Let me put it this way then.
If we can't persuade the public that it's desirable to do these things, we have no right to impose them, even if we had the power to do it.
All right. From 14 departments down to four and a
basic
half.
fundamental functions. What are its fundamental functions? Preserve the peace, defend the country.
All right.
Provide a mechanism whereby individuals can adjudicate their disputes. That's the Justice Department. Protect individuals from being coerced by other individuals. The police function.
Right.
And now, this is both the central government and the state and local governments. The police function is primarily local and central.
Right.
And those are the fundamental functions of government, in my opinion.
Milton Friedman, thank you very much.
How do you like that? Vivek Ramaswamy giving America a little taste of Milton Friedman. How cool is that? And we're learning now that President Trump is set to tap crypto lawyer Teresa Guillen to replace anti-crypto Gary Gensler as SEC chair per reports. This would be huge for crypto and help fulfill Trump's promise. Yeah, I'm excited for that. You know, I've been tracking Bitcoin for a very, very long time. And I mean, Bitcoin is surging under Donald Trump. I mean, it is about to kiss 100,000, and it's going to go even further during the Trump administration. I'm even hearing whispers of a strategic federal stockpile of Bitcoin. And if that happens, oh man, you better get into Bitcoin quick. Even if you just get a little bit, $100 here, $200 there, I'm an advocate for it. Okay. So we're also learning this. A federal judge postponed another J6 trial today due to Trump's election. He then released a message. Blanket pardons for all J6 defendants would be beyond frustrating and disappointing, which means blanket pardons are in order. Pardon all non-Fed J6ers. That is what needs to be done, President Trump. And you know, I pray that on day one, he lets those people go. Also, this was a couple days ago, but it's worth repeating if you haven't heard it. President Trump's transition team is creating a list of military officers to court-martial. And, of course, the media is in meltdown over it.
Working on the... We start now with breaking news tonight. NBC News is reporting that the Trump transition team is compiling a list of current and former U.S. military officers who are directly involved in the 2021 Afghanistan withdrawal for possible court-martial. Officers working on the transition are considering creating a commission to investigate the withdrawal, including gathering information about who was directly involved in the decision-making for the military, how it was carried out, and whether military leaders could be eligible for charges as serious as treason.
Wow.
It's not clear, though, what...
As serious as treason. I mean, you know, it's about time that somebody was held to account. Now, throwing the word treason around is not something that's done lightly, but there are certainly a lot of traitors within our government. And now MSNBC is using that word. That treason is on the table. Folks, if we're going to drain the swamp, if we are going to gut the deep state, there needs to be serious accountability. Court-martialing and treason, make it so.
Legally justify treason charges since the military officers were following the orders of President Biden to withdraw all U.S. forces from Afghanistan. Matt Flynn, a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Counter-Narcotics and Global Threats, is helping lead the effort, sources say. NBC News has reached out to the Trump transition team for comment, but they have yet to respond. We begin this.
I mean, why even respond to MSNBC? I mean, they are fake news incarnate. Okay, we also got President Trump selecting school choice supporter Linda McMahon for Education Secretary. McMahon is Trump's current transition co-chair and is the former Small Business Administration head. So that is good. We're going to see Linda McMahon returning to the Trump administration. Trump's announcing Howard Lutnick joining his administration as the Secretary of Commerce. This is the official statement. I am thrilled to announce Howard Lutnick, Chairman and CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, to join my administration as the U.S. Secretary of Commerce. He will lead our tariff and trade agenda with additional direct responsibility for the Office of the United States Trade Representative. So he is going to be leading tariffs. Now, when I spoke to Ron Paul about the tariff situation, he didn't think that it was a possible means to flip and remove the income tax. But maybe after they cut all this fat with Elon, maybe there's a way they could do it. In fact, I actually posted to my X account the other day a way in which administratively Donald Trump could get rid of the income tax just by simply defining what an individual is in the tax code. Because in the tax code, an individual is not defined. It says all individuals, whatever, pay taxes, right? This is what you have to do. This is, it's voluntary compliance. An individual must, voluntarily comply. But the term individual is never actually defined. So if they define an individual as somebody other than me or you, guess what? It's gone. You have no obligation. You don't have to voluntarily comply anymore. So go back and check my X feed and you'll find the video. I shared it. It was from YouTube. Very important point that it can be done administratively with just simply defining a term. Here is Donald Trump watching the at SpaceX with Elon Musk. You see Ted Cruz there watching this massive rocket taking off. I mean, how cool. I mean, it's funny. This is private enterprise. This is private business. And they are making NASA look like fools. Look at the size of that thing. It is absolutely enormous. It's like the size of a skyscraper. And this is all from the mind of Elon Musk. And they're mad at him because he won't censor enough people on X. Linda McMahon, yes, she's going to be expected to be the education secretary. And then we had this news that broke today. I did not expect this, but I'm glad to see Dr. Oz joining the team. Trump selecting Dr. Oz, former GOP Senate candidate in Pennsylvania. That was stolen from him. We all know it. He's going to be leading Medicare and Medicaid Services Administration. Our broken healthcare system harms everyday Americans and crushes our country's budget. Dr. Oz will be a leader in incentivizing disease prevention. Trump picking Dr. Oz. So congratulations, Dr. Oz, for that. Here's more video of when Trump and Elon were at SpaceX. This is more video of when they arrived. I mean, Elon is just like, he's like the Howard Hughes of our day. But he's not, a recluse hiding in his mansion. But he's got visionary talent, and he executes that vision, surrounds himself with the right people. The richest man in the world with Donald Trump, and they are about to clean house. So Howard Lutnick, going back to that, Trump announced Howard Lutnick will be Commerce Secretary. Do you have any idea how big this is? Lutnick speaks about eliminating income tax and funding the government solely on tariffs, just like Trump has been hinting at. Let's listen.
Of the century, we all say, make America great again. But let's just go over for a minute what that means, because we all say it as a slogan. When was America great? At the turn of the century, our economy was rocking. This is 1900, 125 years ago. We had no income tax. And all we had was tariffs.
Boom. So this is your new Commerce Secretary. And that's his mindset. I mean, he's taking us back to the turn of the century when America was, as he says, in its greatest moment, with no income tax and only tariffs. Think about that, just walking into government with that mindset. I just hope that he is successful in executing that. We also have to worry about Mike Rogers. Mike Rogers declaring his full support for FISA wiretapping. He also says he wishes Intel community didn't need a warrant. People want him as the FBI director. No. We do not want Mike Rogers as the FBI director. He will only protect the deep state.
And we need to. And I credit George Bush and his administration for assembling this new intelligence community. They passed the Patriot Bill that allows and takes the handcuffs off our intelligence services. Policy.
You're going to support the Patriot Act? Guess what? We ain't going to support you. Bottom line. No, thank you, sir. So many great things are happening right now. We got this message here. This is Western Lensman. Democrats, Trump can't use the military to help deport illegals. Oh, no, he can't. Also, Democrats calling in the National Guard to deport 50 illegals out of Martha's Vineyard to a military base within 48 hours of their arrival. Remember that? Was it DeSantis that sent them, or was it, I think it was DeSantis that sent them up to Martha's Vineyard. Genius move by DeSantis. They called in the military right away and sent them to a military base. Oh, but they're afraid that Donald Trump is going to go ahead and deploy the military. See, Donald Trump is going to declare a national emergency, and he will have emergency power with that. Any time a national emergency is declared, there are extraordinary powers granted to the executive branch. We witnessed that during the pandemic. So Donald Trump declaring a national emergency and then whoosh, just sweeping in and removing all of the illegals. Now they're giving him a chance. They're giving him a warning. Hey guys, maybe you should start heading for the door now. Maybe start heading for the door. If you didn't come here legally, you got to go. Just come back legally. Do it like everybody else does. Elon Musk about to drop the Doge hammer 14 hours ago. U.S. government may lose between $233 billion and $521 billion to fraud each year. This is according to a new report. The United States is getting scammed out of hundreds of billions of dollars. This is identity theft. First of its kind analysis based on spending between 2018 and 2022 follows a week after the White House endorsed new legislation to crack down on fraud, including identity theft. Wow. Just fraud alone. I mean, think about how Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy could step in to clean up that mess. Michael Malice tweeting this just a day ago. Holy F, he is not messing around. The Trump team believes that such camps could enable the government to accelerate deportations of undocumented people who fight their expulsion from the country. The idea is that more people would voluntarily accept removal instead of pursuing a long-shot effort to remain in the country if they had stayed locked up in the interim. So it sounds like they're going to straight up be rounding people up, putting them in camps. Holy cow, that's a terrifying consideration. But Chicago One Ray says this. Thomas Hodgson, former sheriff of Bristol County, Massachusetts, says Mayor Wu has no authority. Remember, we covered this yesterday. The mayor of Boston says she's not going to comply. Well, guess what? If there's an emergency declared by the president, you don't really have much of a choice. Let's hear what they're saying on this topic.
He joins me now. Sheriff Hodgson, good morning to you. So it's interesting because we're starting to see almost the exact same statement coming from every Democrat lawmaker who plans on being a thorn in Donald Trump's side when it comes to illegal immigration. You heard Michelle Wu in Boston, Katie Hobbs in Arizona say, well, his mass deportation plan is going to threaten the residents of our areas. Do they have a leg to stand on when it comes to what they're saying?
Good morning, Carly. Thanks for having me. Absolutely not. Look, these are people who are elected to public office to protect the safety and security of the people of America, the citizens of the United States and the legal residents who are here. And for them to suggest somehow that it would be dangerous to the people who are going to be deported is outrageous. The dangers are already here, and they're happening because of these people pouring in over the border, these gangs, these transnational gangs, these people who are on the terrorist watch list. They're all in this country. And if your responsibility is to protect the people of your community, how in God's name can you say that by enforcing our existing laws that you've encouraged people not to follow is somehow hurtful to the American people? It's the complete opposite.
Yeah, it's a great point. And
so we're going to see some radical stuff happening when Donald Trump gets into office, and you can guarantee that the media is going to be in full meltdown. The perpetrators behind the greatest crimes against the American people are lawyering up.
Have bracing for possible revenge prosecutions from the incoming Trump administration. NBC News reports that some civil servants who work on a government salary have proactively reached out to lawyers. That's according to 3 people with knowledge of their deliberations. They're worried about the effect of long and costly legal battles. Joining me here in studio, NBC News senior executive editor for national security, David Rode, who reported this story. Also with us, Glenn Kirshner, a former federal prosecutor and MSNBC legal analyst. It's good to have you here, David. A lot of DOJ staffers we had been hearing and you had been reporting were saying there was some nervousness about what might happen, about, frankly, what has been said about the plans for going after people who they felt unfairly went after them. But how has the choice of Matt Gaetz changed the equation, or has it?
It has, and that's the difference. There was worry about congressional investigations. They expected that, but the choice of Gaetz, which was, I think, a real surprise to many people inside the DOJ, signaled everywhere, yes, that he's a lawyer, but he's had no experience prosecuting cases. But most of all, he is a firebrand loyalist, a very vocal supporter of President Trump. And it's seen by people as a choice. It's someone who Trump trusts, and someone who, given the ethics investigation, sort of owes Trump. Trump is sort of protecting him by giving him this new job just before the ethics report comes out. So it has raised fears that there could actually be criminal investigations and prosecutions by the Trump administration of career DOJ and FBI officials.
Yeah, well, if they committed crimes, then maybe it's time for them to do the time. And, of course, we have this. Why is there an industrial paper shredding truck parked outside the DOJ right now? These criminals are in freaking scorched earth mode with Matt Gaetz coming in. That's why they're destroying evidence. This is the picture that has gone viral today on X. They are in the middle of a shredding operation. And I jokingly posted the other day a picture of all these. I had an AI-generated image, and I posted this picture on X, and it showed Washington, D.C., and it had all these little plumes of black smoke coming from all the different bureaucracies, and basically was saying, yeah, they're getting their fire started, but no, now they're getting their shredder started. And we have this happening, too. Yeah, they are taking over the Senate. They took over the Senate office building today. Okay. Is this considered an insurrection too? Oh, just more radical leftists. Look at them. Get out of here. But that's what they do. And then we have this. Here's Joe Biden. Reporters literally screaming as they desperately try to get Biden to answer their question. He ignores them and ascends the short stairs and heads back to Washington, D.C. I'm guessing that he was, this is his return trip from when they found him in the jungle. I guess he wandered off into the jungle in the Amazon and gave them like $50 billion or something to protect the rainforest. But I'm really excited for the Howard Lutnick as Commerce Secretary. I'm interested to see how he executes the tariff plan. I told you that Ron Paul doesn't think it's something feasible to swap the income tax for tariffs. But if they're able to execute it effectively, I'm all for it. Meanwhile, we got Kamala Harris. Yeah, she's on vacation right now. She's in Hawaii as World War III. We stand on the brink of it. Crazy idea. Okay, so speaking of the taxes, here's Elon Musk posting this crazy idea. Let's simplify the tax code. How about just get rid of it altogether? This guy says Americans spend $546 billion trying to figure out their taxes because the tax code is 10 million words of incomprehensible legalese.
His colleague Rich, the American people spend over $500 billion per year defending themselves against the IRS. That's spitting distance from the $800 billion the Department of Defense spends protecting us against foreigners, well, failing to protect us in the case of the border. So forget Ukraine, forget ISIS. The calls are coming from inside the House. The number comes from my based colleague Richard Stern, who reports on a new Tax Foundation study that the income tax costs Americans $546 billion per year in compliance alone, compared to our national defense budget at $849, which is supposed to protect the American people, yet completely fails to protect us from the IRS. Note
and of course, the IRS fails. The Department of Defense and the Pentagon, they fail all of their audits. And we're also learning that we have the Department of Education also failed its audits in the last couple of years. Meanwhile, of course, the charges against Matt Gaetz, they're trying to amplify these on the mainstream media, but nobody listens to mainstream media anymore. So lots of great things are happening. We're going to keep a close watch on all of these things, bring you the latest. But Vivek Ramaswamy posting that Milton Friedman video, that was the icing on the cake today. And there you have it. The dream team that's going to help President Trump take America back, from healthcare to education, from digital currency to international trade. Every appointment is a direct hit to the deep state's power structure. And speaking of taking power back, make sure you go and grab our latest MAGA Avengers collection at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. There it is on the screen. Yes, you can find it all there. Some cool stuff. Now, here's what I want you to think about and drop your thoughts in the comments. If Trump's transition team is already causing this much panic in Washington with just these appointments, what do you think will happen when they actually take office? Are we witnessing the final days of the administrative state as we know it? I want to hear from you.